Hey guys, it's Russ with Double R Restorations. We're back on the 72 Camaro project today and fitting the trunk to the car. I cut this trunk out of the car last year and kind of had it already mocked up, but had to do some sandblasting on the back half of the car, and then got into changing out the deck filler panel as well. But trying to get everything mocked up and get it ready for welding. Let me show you what we got on the car. My daughter named the project OverKill. Me and her come up with that name. This is going to be her car one day. Problem is I can't really get her out here to work on it. But she's interested in driving it, that's for sure. She's only 11, so maybe she'll come on out and do a little work in the garage. But there she is. There's the trunk pan sitting in place. I don't have enough clamps that I need for the back yet. I've got to get a few more clamps. Those things get expensive in a hurry. But as you can see, I've just got it sitting in there with sheet metal screws right now. And the fit is pretty good up here in that area. I didn't take all of the trunk out. I left that part of the original trunk in. The reason being, there's 3 pieces of metal up there that you would have to take loose. There's a brace underneath the actual trunk pan and the inner wheel housing, and that part was good, so I elected to make my splice right up there. Same thing over here on the other side, and this still needs just a little bit more fitting. It's pretty close. Probably gonna trim this part down just a little bit, and that way I'll have room enough to get my screwdriver in there as I put my tacks, and it should line up really nice. Okay guys, we're underneath the car now, just looking about how it lines up with the inner structure of the car. It looks like it's going to line up pretty good. Still got to pull this frame rail down in a few places. I've got a few sheet metal screws in it, but it's gonna take some more pulling down. You can see there's a little gap right in here. It still needs to, the frame rail needs to come up, and the pan needs to set down a little bit more right in that area. Did make one mistake on one hole. I put a hole right there, you could see it, and the inner structure is kind of bent down pretty good there, and I don't think there's any way I'm gonna be able to pull that down, so I may just weld that hole back shut. This inner tail panel looks like it's gonna fit pretty good, but like I said, it needs a lot more clamps to pull it into place. Here's one idea that I'm tossing around, and you guys can comment and tell me what you think. I've got these 2 really large clamps here, and what I'm thinking about doing, instead of putting sheet metal screws all up and down this thing, I actually thought about, the quarters are getting replaced and so are the drop-offs, and I actually thought about going ahead and removing some of this area right in here, the lower part of the quarter and the drop off, to where I could get those really large clamps in here and try to pull this thing down as I go. When I weld it, I'm thinking about starting up here at the top and just working my way down all the way to the end. And I'm thinking that may be the best way. Same thing on this side. I believe I could use these large clamps and just kind of leapfrog down until I get both sides of the frame rails pulled up tight. This here's the fitment up here in the shock tower area, and it fit really well. Very happy with the way that turned out. The other side, I wind up having to cut a piece out of it here and kind of bend this metal right here to match up with the contour of the panel. But as you can see, right here, it starts to go out a little bit, and I can hammer that in and make it pretty close. But one of the things is where it's just so tight right in this area. So I can get it to work. It's hard to do with one hand, but I believe I'm just going to barely trim just a sliver off of here and give me just a little bit more adjustability. And then once I hammer this down just a little bit more, I think it'll be fine. Okay guys, right here is the shape that I'm kind of going for on this splice here. Bring it around the corner here, and right about in here, once I get this all prepped, I could probably put a tack right here and maybe right here, and then I could probably remove the screwdriver that's right there and get another tack right in here, and I believe that would work really well for me. Pan the camera out so everybody can see. Every time I mess with this pan, this area moves right here, and I guess it's going to do that until I get it welded. But this top piece, it fit really nice, and it's going to clamp down really good. This area right in here fit nice. I think the last time I showed y'all this panel, I had the hinges welded, but I was trying to decide what to do about the welds. And what I end up doing is just going ahead and grinding them smooth on the sides there. I did leave the full bead at the top and the bottom, and that's kind of the way the factory did it. I pulled a set of hinges off of another car, and that's how it was on that car, and that's how it was on this original panel that I took off of the car. Come over here to this side. I don't know how well the light is picking that up, but just went ahead and smoothed them out pretty quick, and then took a little spot blaster and kind of give it a little tooth there. I'm going to put a little epoxy back in there just to protect the metal from rust while the car is still being built. On the back side, I've got that prepped for a little bit more epoxy as well. Went ahead and just lightly sanded that area and ground the welds down from the back side. Same thing over here. I did get the U-bracket welded up. It turned out really good. Got it ready for some epoxy. And like I said, I cleaned this backside area up where the weld penetrated through. Went ahead and got this panel back in epoxy in some of the areas that I had welded on. You can see it right in there. It's starting to flash off. The other side I've already got done in the white. And I got epoxy down in there really good. I just did this with my airbrush for now, just to try to keep it from rusting while it's being built. There's the U-bracket. Over here's the other side. I had sanded all of this in 180 and just barely went back over it with just a couple real light coats with the airbrush. And once it's welded to the car, I'll resand this whole panel and epoxy it when I epoxy the car. But I just want to take a little bit of precautions just to keep it from getting any more rust where I'm trying to prevent that. What I did here is just an airbrush bottle here, and this stuff mixes 1-to-1, and so I kind of got it marked out there on the 1-to-1. But on the red, I mentioned earlier in some earlier videos that this is SPI's epoxy, and this red here, this is straight out of the can, which pretty much is a direct match for the Ford red. I usually add a little black to it. I've got a little formula that I made up with their black epoxy with a little bit of their red to come up with this color. But this is under the car anyway. It's got a panel that goes over here, and you really won't see this once it's on the car, so I just went ahead and just stuck with the red for just a small area. A lot of people just put these in with the EDP left on them, and I guess that's fine. I don't guess there's anything wrong with that. But when I removed this epoxy, it was very difficult to remove in these areas. I'm using something like a roll-lock with a Scotch-Brite, and it was just, I mean, you really had to work at it to remove this epoxy, and I think I prefer this over the EDP. I guess a true EDP is really hard to beat, but some of this stuff where it's made offshore and everything, I've even heard tales of it coming off with lacquer thinner. So, you know, just you're into it this far, you might as well take a little bit more precautions and try to make this thing last another 30 or 40 years. But anyway, guys, that's what we got going on, and I'm going to work on getting this prepped for welding. I'm going to be removing some of the epoxy and probably do one more test fit, and I'll bring you guys back when I have some more work done. Thanks for checking the channel out, and please feel free to leave any comments, give me any pointers, that something you see that I'm missing or something. Please feel free to comment. Thank you.